Hello, coaches. So, with a lot of your feedback, I have put together a new version of the athlete evaluation. So, thank you so much for your patience and waiting for that. I'm going to show you guys how to use them. So, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go into your folder. So, let's say we're on development team. And by the way, everybody has the same document in their folder. Let's just go to RD2. You're going to see right here a document called Copy of Evaluations Revamp. The number one first thing you need to do, because everybody actually has the same file in their folder, is you need to make a copy of this for all of your individual athletes, because if you go in and you modify this one, it's going to change every single person's copy that's in their folder. Okay, so how you do that is you're going to right click on this. You're going to go make a copy and say this one is for Hillary. So now you see I've made a copy of a copy. You can go in and you can right click again to rename this. And I'm going to go Hillary evaluation and then the date. So February, I don't even know what date it is, 11th, sure. So you're going to do this first for all of your athletes so that you don't get confused and go in and edit the wrong one. Then, once you've set up all of your copies, you are going to click on that and get into the evaluation. So it's pretty straightforward. Here you're going to put athlete's name, coach's name, team location, and date. And basically what I've done is I've gone through this and I've basically just made prompts for you guys. So read through them, and it's all drop-down menu for the most part. So when you're looking at the first one, their ability to challenge themselves and try hard, you're going to pick 1 through 5. So 1 is the worst, 5 is the best for all of the drop-down things. And basically what you do is if you find one that describes your athlete, you click on it, and you will see that I've also included some suggestions on how to improve with where they currently are at. So again, these are very generic. Not every athlete is going to fit into this description. So you can add to this in 2 ways. If this kind of feels like it works for your athlete and it's something that you agree with and you want to try to encourage them to do, then leave it, but you can also provide your additional comments here for each section. If you completely disagree with kind of what I've written here for improvement, you can go in and edit this yourself. You just have to click on this. Say you just want to keep this part, like number 3, you challenge yourself, blah, 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 but to improve, you want to write your own thing. You can just simply highlight it, delete it, and say to improve, work harder, or whatever it is you want. And then once you click off that, you've got your own personalized notes. So that way you can tailor it to your own athletes if you want to, but I'm pretty sure most of the generic things should work relatively well. I did put a lot of thought into it, but again, this is this is my first crack at re-editing it after we've talked about it, so who knows, I might even change it again in the future. So basically you go through effort and attitude assessment, any comments if you would like to add, then you go through their warm-up, pick something from the drop-down. This part is a little bit different, and actually I would like it if you guys, you can get the front desk to like print off this section before you even do the evaluation yourself and get the athletes to fill this out for themselves and hand it back to you, and then you can fill it out kind of what you think and you can compare. I thought that was a good idea, so if that's something you want to do, go ahead. And yeah, so I just want to explain this part a little bit more. So basically, you are identifying their strengths and weaknesses here, and it's them compared against themselves. So, we could look at the best climber in the world, and they will still have a strength and a weakness, right? They might be bad at slab, or they might be great at finger and hand strength style. You can also look at a complete beginner, and after their first climbing session, they will be better and worse at some things. So keep in mind, like, especially when you're delivering this to your athletes, that you explain this section well. It's supposed to give them an idea of how well-rounded they are. It's supposed to give them direction on, the areas that they might struggle with a little bit more, that they should spend more time practicing in. And the funny thing is as they evolve and improve with their climbing, or say they focus on nothing but dynamic and risky coordination moves, well, they might, during the next evaluation, be even better at that than they were before. And as a result, other areas of their climbing, they might actually go lower down on this scale. So yeah, it's giving them a picture of kind of where they're at now in their current climbing. So if you have any more questions on that, let me know. I personally think it's pretty straightforward. It just highlights where you're at, what you need to work on, what you're good at, what you could be better at. So think about that. And it's pretty simple. You go in here and you're like, okay, finger and hand strength style. Yeah, this person, Hillary, is crazy strong with that. So we're going to give her something higher on the scale. She can't place her feet yet. So maybe we're going to put her down here. And so on and so forth. So you go through that whole thing to kind of give them a picture of where they're at. And then this average boulder grade and average difficulty grade on-site and red point, that should be their average, is like in a session. It's not their all-time best. So that's another thing you want to make sure that you explain to them. Like, yes, I know maybe they have done one C7, but maybe they're more consistently climbing a C6. So that would be the average grade that you would pick from them, because we're trying to look at like where they're consistently at. So yeah, you just pick something from the drop down, and I tried to make it like pretty, yeah, you can pick between C4 and C5 if they're right on the cusp. So you fill all that out. Speed record, if they have one, great. If they don't, you can use something like the fastest lap they've done in the beginner classroom or whatever, or you can use their time from the Sport Cup. But if they really don't have any speed to show, then you just go, yep, not applicable. So pretty easy on that one. And then you're going to go through their bouldering and their difficulty assessments. So it talks a little bit about sequencing and route reading. We all know what that is. Decisiveness and commitment. Pretty straightforward again. Adaptability is, I would go through and read these maybe a little bit more carefully. They explain the concept pretty well and kind of where you think they're at. But yeah, it's basically how adaptable they are. And resilience, how they react when confronted with challenges, or if a poor performance or failure. And this goes on to give them some other suggestions as well. So this might be one you want to look at if you have other ideas of how that individual athlete might be able to improve their attitude or their resilience when they are dealing with kind of challenging times, because I know that is a pretty common theme that coaches talk to me about a lot. So for example, say I pick this one, like maybe you don't want to do goal setting with them. Maybe you want to do something different. So again, just go in here, alter what I say or add to it. Just make sure that it applies to your athlete. So comments, just general comments on the entire topic of bouldering. Then we go into ropes, difficulty. So same thing, we go over observation and sequencing. We're adding a couple other elements like clipping, cruxes, resting, pacing, and stuff like that. So if they're including that in their sequence. We don't have adaptability in here because usually with difficulty we're preparing them to do their best on their first try. You can be a little bit adaptable on the wall, but not really in between attempts. So I just decided to leave that one out. Clipping, how they're doing with that, and that goes for unclipping as well. I tried to be really vague, and I just said clipping. I didn't say clipping in or unclipping. But yeah, that's still applicable to athletes that are not leading yet. Footwork, I know that's a big one for all areas of climbing. However, I put it in this section because footwork really matters a lot in lead climbing or top rope climbing and just your general understanding of movement, your efficiency, and whatnot. So if an athlete is struggling with their footwork and you notice they really need to work on that in all areas of their climbing, again, that's what this comment section is for. Like we kind of have it in the bouldering or the climbing abilities thing up here, where you can talk about, you know, how is their slab footwork, balance, and style. So it does get hit twice, but yeah. Pacing, again, that's something that's a bit different that I chose to only include in the difficulty section, and that just has to do with, you know, are they changing the rate at which they're climbing with respect to the demand of the route. So typically you want to see athletes kind of speed up when the climbing is more difficult. You don't want them to be camping out on crappy holds and wasting all their energy. So they should speed up and be really deliberate with their climbing, but not so fast that it gets sloppy or anything. And then also, when it's easier climbing, that's when they can relax a little bit, try to get some energy back, rest, but not go so slow that they're losing energy. So that one, pay attention to. That might be hard for you to identify. And to be honest, a lot of athletes don't even think about this one. A lot of coaches don't teach it very much. So I'm going to provide you guys with some more resources on that. That's something that comes later after like sequencing and clipping and all that stuff. So yeah. And then decisiveness and commitment, that's pretty much the same thing, but it can be drastically different when you are on the end of a rope and you're afraid of heights or falling. So just consider the differences there. And I think I actually put like comfortable with falling or not comfortable, stuff like that. And then speed, to be honest, I'm learning a lot about this discipline. I just left it open for you guys to put whatever you want with where your athletes are at. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And I'd like you guys to try to get through this. Ideally by the end of February, we're giving these out to athletes because I know I was really late and I apologize for that with this revamp, but I wanted to make sure it was something meaningful that we gave back to them, that I took everybody's advice into consideration. So thank you again for your patience. And then yeah, just remember when you do distribute this to your athletes, it is confidential. We don't want them to be comparing. We don't want them to be sharing it really with other athletes, I guess. Yeah, we want to make sure that we're having that conversation kind of one-on-one with them. So again, any questions, just ask. And thank you guys for watching this tutorial. And yeah, have fun with the new evaluations.